There is a county in the United States where you can buy 5 acres for $3,000, build whatever you want without permits, and live completely off-grid while the government basically pretends you do not exist. No, this is not some libertarian fantasy or prepper fever dream. It is a place where building codes are suggestions, zoning is a myth, and your closest neighbor is 3 miles away, wondering why you are so close. Everyone thinks going off-grid means either buying overpriced homesteads in Montana that cost more than suburban homes, or illegally squatting on Bureau of Land Management land until the feds show up. But here is what nobody tells you. Scattered across the United States are actual towns and counties where off-grid living is legal, and often practically encouraged because the local government cannot afford to provide services, and they are happy someone is paying property taxes on land everyone else abandoned. We are counting down 12 towns in the United States where you can live completely off-grid, where you can legally build without permits or with minimal enforcement. Some have land under $5,000 per acre, and one place has a building code that is literally 1 page long and basically says, "Do not burn down your neighbor's property." One county has no building codes at all outside town limits. Another has land so cheap you can buy 40 acres for the price of a used car. And yes, one place has an established off-grid community where your neighbors actually know how solar panels work instead of calling you a weirdo. Think you know where you can go off-grid legally? Cool. Let us see if you are ready for counties where the building inspector does not exist because they cannot afford one. Like this video if you have ever researched off-grid living and realized every guide assumes you have $500,000 to spend. Subscribe because homesteading content is everywhere, but actual legal places to do it are rare. And this channel tells you where the building codes end. Let us break it down. Number 12. Terlingua, Texas. Terlingua will let you go off-grid in the Chihuahuan Desert, where Brewster County basically gave up on regulating anything decades ago. Welcome to far west Texas, where civilization is a suggestion. Terlingua is a ghost town turned off-grid haven in Brewster County, the largest county in Texas, at 6,200 square miles, with about 9,200 people total. That means there is roughly 1 person per square mile, and nobody is checking what you are building. Here are the actual costs and requirements for living off-grid in Terlingua. Land runs $1,000 to $5,000 per acre, depending on location and access, with raw desert land on the cheap end. Brewster County has minimal building codes outside incorporated areas, which means most of Terlingua faces essentially no enforcement. You can build with alternative materials, live in a yurt, whatever works. Water is the real challenge. You are drilling wells in the desert, so expect $15,000 to $30,000 for well drilling, with no guarantee of hitting water. Solar is ideal. You get 300 plus days of sun each year. Septic systems are required, but enforcement is minimal, and many people use composting toilets. Property taxes run about 2%, but on cheap land that is $200 annually on a $10,000 lot. Terlingua works for off-grid living because Brewster County lacks the resources to enforce much. The culture is libertarian and leave you alone. You are near Big Bend National Park for scenery, and there is an actual community of off-gridders and artists who move there for freedom. The downside is extreme isolation. Alpine is 80 miles away for supplies. Summer heat exceeds 110 degrees. Water scarcity is real and expensive to solve. Winter nights drop below freezing, and emergency services are limited. One resident said Brewster County never inspected their build, and nobody cares what you do. Their 10 acres cost $25,000, but the water well was $22,000, and summers are brutally hot. In short, Terlingua offers maximum freedom in the Texas desert, at the cost of extreme conditions. Can we talk about what off-grid actually means legally? Some people assume it means no building codes, but that is rare. Most places on this list have codes, but minimal enforcement, or codes that are flexible enough to allow alternative building. True no codes is almost non-existent in America today. The goal is finding places where codes are minimal and enforcement is basically zero. Picture yourself in Terlingua. You bought 10 acres for $30,000. You built a small cabin with solar panels and rainwater collection, plus a cistern you fill from town. The county never inspected anything. Your property taxes are $600 annually. You are living completely off-grid legally in the Texas desert, though summer heat is punishment and water is your constant concern. Number 11. Crestone, Colorado. It will give you off-grid mountain living in Saguache County, where the building department seems to understand people are doing their own thing. Welcome to Colorado's spiritual off-grid community. Crestone sits at 8,000 feet elevation in the San Luis Valley, with about 150 full-time residents. The greater area has a substantial off-grid population. Here is what it costs. Land runs $10,000 to $30,000 per acre, depending on access and location. It is more expensive than desert, but you get mountain views in 4 seasons. Saguache County has building codes, but they are relatively flexible and enforcement is inconsistent. Many people build without permits or get permits for basic structures, then modify. You can use alternative building methods like straw bale, cob, and earth bag if you work with the inspector. Water comes from wells that are easier than in the desert. Expect $8,000 to $15,000 for well drilling. Solar works well at high elevation despite winter. Septic systems are required, or composting systems are allowed with approval. Property taxes are around 0.5% of assessed value. Crestone works because there is an established spiritual and off-grid community that has been there since the 1970s. The culture is accepting of alternative lifestyles. Saguache County understands people are living off-grid and generally works with you if you make an effort. You get real seasons and mountain beauty and community support for off-grid living. The downside is that 8,000-foot elevation means harsh winters with serious snow. The growing season is short, limiting food production. It is more expensive compared to desert options. You are isolated, with Alamosa 40 miles away. Altitude is not for everyone. One resident said Saguache County approved their earthbag home after some back and forth. The community is incredibly supportive of off-grid living. Their 5 acres cost $60,000, but winter is intense, and they are snowed in for weeks at a time. Picture yourself in Crestone. You bought 5 acres with mountain views for $75,000. You built a straw bale home that the county eventually approved. You have solar, well water, and a composting toilet. You are part of a community of off-gridders who actually help each other, instead of being isolated alone. Tonopah, Nevada gives you off-grid desert freedom in Nye County, which is legendary for having essentially no building codes outside town limits. Tonopah is a small mining town, but the real story is Nye County itself, which is larger than some states and has minimal government oversight. Land is cheap, ranging from $500 to $2,000 per acre for raw desert parcels, with larger parcels even cheaper per acre. Nye County is famous for having no building codes in unincorporated areas. You can build almost anything, live in a recreational vehicle permanently, or do whatever works for you. Water is the challenge. Drilling wells runs $15,000 to $40,000, and water table depth varies dramatically. Solar is ideal with 300+ days of sunshine. There are no septic requirements in most areas. Many people use composting toilets or basic septic systems. Property taxes are low, under 1% of assessed value. Tonopah works because Nye County is widely regarded as the gold standard for off-grid freedom in America. The county cannot afford to enforce codes, and it generally chooses not to. There is an established off-grid community, and land is genuinely cheap. The downside is serious isolation. Reno is 4 hours away, and Las Vegas is 3.5 hours away. Water is expensive and scarce. Summer heat is brutal. Winter is cold and windy. And you are truly remote with limited services and slow emergency response. One resident said, Nye County never asked for permits or inspections. They live in a shipping container with solar. Their 40 acres cost $30,000, but getting water costs $25,000. And being this remote is psychologically challenging. In short, the Tonopah area offers maximum legal freedom, but also maximum environmental challenges. Picture yourself outside Tonopah. You bought 40 acres for $40,000. You placed 2 shipping containers, added solar, drilled a well for $28,000, and nobody from the county has ever contacted you. You are completely off-grid and completely legal in the Nevada desert. Truth or consequences? New Mexico. Truth or consequences gives you off-grid living in Sierra County, where building codes exist, but enforcement outside town is minimal. Welcome to New Mexico's Hot Springs town turned off-grid community. TRC sits in Sierra County along the Rio Grande, with about 6,000 people in town, and a substantial off-grid population in the surrounding areas. Here's what it costs. Land runs $3,000 to $8,000 per acre, depending on location and access to the river corridor. Sierra County has building codes, but enforcement outside incorporated areas is minimal and inconsistent. Many people build without permits, and the county does not actively search for violations. Alternative building methods are common and generally tolerated. Water comes from wells that are reasonable. Drilling costs $10,000 to $20,000. Solar is excellent year-round. Septic systems are officially required, but enforcement is limited, and composting toilets are common. Property taxes are around 0.8% of assessed value. T or C works because Sierra County historically left people alone if they stayed out of town limits. There is a culture of artists and alternative lifestyle people who move there for freedom and cheap land. You are near the Rio Grande and hot springs. The climate is manageable, with mild winters, and there is enough infrastructure in town for supplies without being overregulated. The downsides are clear. It has gotten more expensive as people discovered it. Summer heat is intense. The county is starting to enforce codes more as population grows. Water rights can be complex near the Rio Grande. Economically, the area struggles. Someone living off-grid outside T or C wrote that they built without permits 5 years ago, and the county never noticed. Their 10 acres cost $50,000. They have solar and a well, but they are hearing the county is cracking down on new unpermitted builds. Picture yourself outside truth or consequences. You bought 8 acres for $45,000 5 years ago, when enforcement was looser. You built a small adobe home with solar and a well. The county never inspected. You soak in hot springs and live off-grid in New Mexico, though you are watching to see if enforcement increases. Number 8. Pytown, New Mexico. Pytown will give you off-grid living in Catron County, one of the most sparsely populated and least regulated counties in America. Welcome to New Mexico's forgotten frontier. Pytown is barely a town, with maybe 60 full-time residents, and Catron County has 3,500 people in 6,900 square miles. Here's the situation. Land is cheap, $1,000 to $3,000 per acre for raw land. Catron County has building codes technically, but enforcement is essentially zero because the county cannot afford inspectors and the population is too spread out. People build what they want, and nobody checks. Water from wells costs $10,000 to $25,000. Solar works great. Septic is required on paper, but many use composting systems and nobody enforces. Property taxes, under 1% of assessed value on cheap land, means $100 to $300 annually. Pytown works because Catron County is so remote and poor they cannot regulate much. The culture is extreme libertarian. Leave me alone. Land is genuinely cheap. You get 4 seasons and pine forests, unlike desert. There is a small community of off-grid residents who are there specifically for freedom. The downside is extreme isolation. The nearest real town is Socorro, about 2 hours away. Winter is harsh with heavy snow. The growing season is short at elevations above 7,000 feet. Economic opportunities are essentially zero, and you are hours from emergency services. Someone who lives there wrote that Catron County does not even know they exist. They built a cabin and greenhouse. Their 20 acres cost $35,000. Nobody has ever inspected anything, but isolation is real, and winter snowed them in for 3 weeks last year. Translation: Pytown offers extreme freedom in exchange for extreme isolation. Picture yourself in Pytown. You bought 15 acres for $30,000. You built a small cabin with solar and a well. Catron County has no idea you exist. You are completely off-grid and free in the New Mexico mountains, though you are also completely alone, and winter is brutal. Presidio County gives you off-grid desert living in far west Texas, where the county is too big and too poor to regulate much. Welcome to Texas's other forgotten county. Presidio County sits along the Rio Grande, bordering Mexico, with about 6,700 people in 3,800 square miles. Here is what it costs. Land runs $1,500 to $5,000 per acre, depending on location. Water from wells costs $15,000 to $35,000 and is hit or miss. Solar is excellent year-round. Septic systems are officially required, but enforcement is minimal. Property taxes are around 2%, and on cheap land that is manageable. Presidio County has minimal building codes outside incorporated areas, and enforcement is basically non-existent. You can build alternative structures, live in recreational vehicles, or use shipping containers. The county works because it is even more remote than Brewster County next door. The county lacks resources for enforcement. Local culture is libertarian and border-influenced. Land is cheap, and the climate allows year-round living. The downside is extreme heat in summer, often exceeding 110 degrees. You are on the border, with all that implies, including Border Patrol presence. Water is scarce and expensive. Isolation is extreme, with Marfa 60 miles from Presidio. Infrastructure is minimal. One resident wrote that Presidio County never responded to their permit request, so they just built anyway. Their 20 acres cost $40,000. Border Patrol drives by occasionally, but does not care about their off-grid setup. Summer heat is dangerous, and they stay inside most of the day. Picture yourself in Presidio County. You bought 15 acres for $35,000 along a dirt road. You built with shipping containers and solar, and the county never inspected. You are off-grid in far west Texas, living free, though summer heat and the border location create serious challenges. Number 6. Mojave County, Arizona. Mojave County offers off-grid desert living with slightly more infrastructure than pure wilderness. Welcome to Arizona's off-grid corridor. Mojave County is huge, covering northwest Arizona, including areas near Kingman and the Golden Valley area that has become famous for off-grid living. Here is what it costs. Land runs $3,000 to $8,000 per acre in off-grid areas, cheaper for raw parcels farther out. The county has building codes, but enforcement varies dramatically by location. Areas like Golden Valley have minimal enforcement and established off-grid communities. You can use alternative building methods if you work with inspectors, or build where they do not come. Wells cost $15,000 to $30,000. Solar is perfect. Septic systems are required in theory, but composting systems are common in remote areas. Property taxes are around 1% of assessed value. Mojave County works because there are established off-grid communities, particularly around Golden Valley, where people support each other. The county understands that off-grid living happens, and enforcement is inconsistent. You are closer to civilization than pure desert, with Kingman providing supplies. The climate allows year-round living, and there is a culture of acceptance. The downside is that it has been discovered, so land prices are rising. Summer heat exceeds 110 degrees. Water is increasingly scarce as more people move in, and the county is starting to enforce codes more in popular areas. It is still desert with all the challenges that implies. Someone in Golden Valley wrote that their area has dozens of off-grid properties. The county inspected their build but was reasonable. Their 5 acres cost $40,000, and having neighbors who understand solar and wells is valuable. Picture yourself in Mojave County. You bought 5 acres in Golden Valley for $45,000. You built a small home with county approval after some negotiation. You have solar, a well, and septic. You are part of an off-grid community in the Arizona desert. Number 5. Luna County, New Mexico. Luna County gives you off-grid living in southwest New Mexico, where enforcement is minimal outside Deming. Welcome to New Mexico's border county. Luna County sits along the Mexican border with about 25,000 people, most in Deming, leaving vast areas essentially unregulated. Land costs $2,000 to $6,000 per acre for raw parcels. Luna County has building codes, but enforcement outside Deming is minimal to non-existent. People build what they want, and the county does not actively seek out violations. Alternative building is tolerated. Wells cost $12,000 to $25,000. Solar works year-round. Septic is required, but composting systems are used with minimal enforcement. Property taxes are under 1% of assessed value. Luna County works because enforcement is genuinely minimal once you are outside town limits. The county does not have the resources to regulate remote areas. Land is affordable. You are close enough to Deming for supplies. The climate is manageable, and there is a growing off-grid population. The downside is you are on the border with Border Patrol presence. Summer heat is intense. The water table is dropping as agriculture and population increase. The area struggles economically, and the county may increase enforcement as it grows. Someone there wrote that they built without permits, and the county has never contacted them in 3 years. Their 10 acres cost $35,000. They are 20 miles from Deming, which is close enough for supplies but far enough to be left alone. Translation: Luna County offers practical off-grid living with reasonable access to civilization. Picture yourself in Luna County. You bought 8 acres for $30,000 outside Deming. You built a small home with solar and a well without permits. Nobody from the county has ever inspected. You drive to Deming for supplies and live off-grid the rest of the time. Saguache County gives you mountain off-grid living beyond Crestone with a reasonable building department. Welcome to Colorado's off-grid county. Saguache County covers much of the San Luis Valley, with about 6,500 people spread across 3,170 square miles. There is off-grid living throughout the county, not just in Crestone. Here is what it costs. Land runs $3,000 to $10,000 per acre, depending on location and access. The county has building codes, but the building department generally works with people doing alternative builds if you engage with them honestly. Many people get permits for basic structures and then modify, or they build in remote areas with minimal enforcement. Wells cost $8,000 to $18,000 in most areas. Solar works despite winter. Septic systems or approved composting are required. Property taxes are around 0.5% of assessed value. Saguache County works because the building department has experience with off-grid and alternative building. They are generally reasonable if you communicate. There are multiple off-grid communities throughout the county creating support networks. You get real mountain living with water and forests. Unlike the desert, you get 4 seasons in beauty, and the culture is accepting. The downside is harsh winters with heavy snow, a short growing season at elevation, and it is more expensive than desert options. The county does require some permitting engagement, unlike total freedom counties. Altitude and isolation are not for everyone. Someone in northern Saguache County said the building department approved their straw bale addition after inspection. The county is firm on some things like septic systems, but flexible on building methods. Their 10 acres cost $70,000, and the off-grid community support is worth the higher cost. Picture yourself in Saguache County. You bought 8 acres for $60,000. You worked with the building department to permit a small cabin with alternative heating. You have solar, a well, and an approved composting system. You are off-grid in the Colorado mountains, legally and with community support. Costilla County offers the cheapest land in Colorado, with minimal enforcement outside town limits. Welcome to Colorado's forgotten southern county. Costilla County sits on the New Mexico border. It is Colorado's least populated county, with fewer than 4,000 people. Land is remarkably cheap, $1,500 to $5,000 per acre, the cheapest in Colorado by far. Costilla County does have building codes, but enforcement outside the tiny incorporated areas is essentially zero. The county lacks resources and the population is too dispersed. People build alternative structures without permits regularly. Wells cost $10,000 to $20,000. Solar works well. Septic systems are required, but enforcement is minimal. Property taxes are under 0.6% of assessed value. The county works because it combines Colorado beauty and legal leeway with third-world prices and LAX enforcement. The county cannot afford to regulate remote areas. The local culture is a Hispanic and Anglo mix that generally values independence. You get mountain living with water, and land is genuinely cheap for Colorado. The downside is that Costilla County is the poorest county in Colorado, with almost no economic opportunities. Isolation is severe. Trinidad is 45 miles away, and Taos, New Mexico, is 60 miles away. Winters are brutal. Infrastructure is minimal, and the poverty is visible and challenging. A local account said the county never inspected their build, and that nobody cares what you do in remote areas. Their 20 acres cost $50,000, but the poverty and isolation are intense and not romantic. In short, Costilla County offers cheap Colorado land with minimal enforcement at the cost of severe poverty and isolation. Picture yourself in Costilla County. You bought 15 acres for $45,000 with mountain views. You built without permits. The county does not know you exist. You are off-grid in Colorado for desert prices, though poverty and isolation surround you. Harney County offers off-grid high desert living in the largest county in Oregon, with a minimal population and light enforcement. Welcome to Oregon's empty quarter. Harney County is 10,228 square miles, larger than many states, with only 7,500 people, almost all in Burns. Land runs $1,000 to $3,000 per acre for raw high desert. Water from wells costs $10,000 to $25,000. Solar works despite the northern latitude because of high desert sun. Septic systems are required, but enforcement far from town is limited. Property taxes are under 1.2% of assessed value. Land is cheap for Oregon. The county has building codes, but enforcement outside Burns is minimal because the area is simply too vast. People build what they want in remote areas, and alternative structures are common. Harney County functions as off-grid country because it is genuinely empty, with less than one person per square mile outside Burns, and the county cannot inspect everywhere. You get high desert beauty with actual water, 4 seasons, and extreme solitude if that is your goal. The downside is brutal isolation. Boise is 3 hours away. Winter is harsh, with heavy snow and temperatures below zero. The growing season is short, economic opportunities are limited, and you are hours from everything, including emergency services. One resident lives 40 miles from Burns. Their 40 acres cost $60,000. They have not seen county officials in 2 years. They say isolation is extreme, and winter is dangerous. Picture yourself in Harney County. You bought 30 acres for $50,000 in the high desert. You built with solar and a well. The county has never inspected because you are too far from Burns. You are off-grid in Oregon's emptiest county, though winter isolation is severe. Number 1. Elko County, Nevada. Elko County takes the top spot because it combines reasonable off-grid freedom with actual access to civilization, established community, and long-term livability. Welcome to Nevada's best off-grid balance that actually works. Elko County is genuinely massive, at 17,203 square miles, making it larger than 9 U.S. states, with only about 53,000 people total. While Elko City itself has building codes and enforcement, the vast unincorporated county areas have minimal enforcement, cheaper land, and an established off-grid population. Here is why it definitively tops this list for practical off-grid living. Land costs $1,000 to $4,000 per acre, depending on location and access, with properties along maintained county roads on the higher end and raw parcels farther out on dirt roads cheaper. Elko County has building codes on the books, but enforcement outside incorporated areas is minimal and inconsistent. People build alternative structures, live permanently in recreational vehicles and trailers, and generally do their thing without county interference. Water from wells costs $12,000 to $30,000 depending on depth and location, which is reasonable for Nevada. Solar works surprisingly well despite the northern latitude because you are at elevation with clear skies. Septic systems are officially required, but enforcement varies dramatically with distance from town and with complaints. Property taxes run around 0.8% of assessed value on cheap land, keeping annual costs manageable. Elko County works better than anywhere else on this list because it genuinely balances off-grid freedom with access to actual civilization and services that matter for long-term living. Elko City provides grocery stores, hardware stores, healthcare facilities, including a hospital, supplies, and the infrastructure you occasionally need without the regulation and costs of living in town. The county understands off-grid living happens and generally leaves people alone outside incorporated areas unless there are complaints or obvious violations. There is an established off-grid community, particularly along the Interstate 80 corridor and in Ruby Valley, where people support each other with knowledge and equipment. Land is genuinely affordable compared to most of America, and it is more available and buildable than the extreme southern Nevada desert. Water is more reliably accessible than in southern Nevada because you are not in pure desert. You get 4 real seasons, including actual winter, which some people want, and summer is manageable unlike Southwest extremes. The climate is challenging, but it is genuinely livable year-round for many people, unlike places where summer heat becomes dangerous. The downside that needs honest acknowledgement is winter. Winter can be harsh with heavy snow, sub-zero temperatures for extended periods, and you need to prepare seriously for winter isolation. You are still genuinely remote, with Reno 4 hours west and Salt Lake City 3.5 hours east, meaning emergencies are complicated and you are far from major medical care. Enforcement is slowly increasing as population grows and the county gets more resources, though it is still minimal compared to most of America. You are living at 5,000 to 6,000 feet elevation in high desert, which is not for everyone and takes adjustment. The growing season is short, limiting food production possibilities. One resident who lived off-grid in Elko County for 5 years said the county inspected their initial build once, asked a few questions, and never came back in those 5 years. Being 30 minutes from Elko City matters enormously for supplies, healthcare, and staying connected to civilization. Their 20 acres cost $50,000, which seemed expensive compared to cheaper Nevada options, but the location near Elko and available water justified it. While Elko County is definitely not total freedom like Nye County to the south, it is far more livable and sustainable for actual long-term off-grid living. Let's be specific about why Elko County definitively tops this list over seemingly freer options. Freedom without livability is just suffering with extra steps. Nye County near Tonopah offers more absolute freedom with essentially zero building codes, but summers are deadly hot, water costs a fortune, and services are hours away in legitimate desert isolation. Costilla County, Colorado is cheaper with beautiful mountain land, but it is Colorado's poorest county, with visible poverty and brutal isolation. Terlingua in Brewster County, Texas offers freedom, but water scarcity is severe, and summer heat is dangerous. Elko County gives you genuine off-grid capability with building tolerance that lets you use alternative methods and materials, affordable land that is actually buildable, access to a functioning city for supplies, healthcare, and civilization when needed, an established community of off-gridders who share knowledge instead of isolated survivalism, and a four-season climate that is challenging but genuinely manageable with preparation. Practicality matters. For most people trying to live off-grid long-term as a lifestyle, rather than just survive as a statement, that balance of freedom and practicality matters more than absolute freedom or rock-bottom land prices. You need to actually live, not just exist in defiance of building codes. Picture yourself in Elko County after making the move to off-grid living. You bought 15 acres for $40,000 along a maintained county road about 30 miles from Elko City. You built a well-insulated cabin using a mix of conventional and alternative materials with solar panels, and a battery bank, drilled a well for $18,000 that produces good water, and installed a septic system that the county inspected once 2 years ago and never followed up on. You are 30 to 40 minutes from Elko City for weekly supply runs, healthcare appointments, and maintaining some connection to civilization and services when you need them. You have several off-grid neighbors within a few miles who help each other with equipment repairs, share knowledge about solar and water systems, and provide community instead of total isolation. You are living completely off-grid, legally and practically, in the Nevada high desert. Winter is genuinely harsh and requires serious preparation, and summer can be hot, but you are actually sustainable and comfortable long-term rather than just surviving in extreme conditions. The freedom is less absolute than in pure desert counties, but you are living a life rather than enduring an existence, which is the whole point of going off-grid in the first place. Be honest. Would you actually go off-grid if you found land you could afford in a county that would not stop you? Yes, freedom matters that much. Or no, you like running water and building codes. Drop your off-grid dreams or reality checks below, because we just counted down 12 towns in the United States where you can actually live off-grid legally. Like this video if you learned that off-grid living is legally possible, if you know where to look. Subscribe, because finding these places requires research, and this channel does it. These counties are real, the costs are verified, and the building situations are current. Off-grid living is possible in the United States if you are willing to accept isolation, environmental challenges, and places that are not glamorous. These 12 locations prove that freedom still exists. It just relocated to counties too poor or too empty to regulate you.